So in terms of launching a successful acquisition strategy, the number one thing is definitely understand your customer journey. That can be really obvious when the product or service that you are marketing is something that you yourself might purchase. If it's an online store, you could empathize or even be a consumer of that product. That on one hand can be pretty straightforward if you're pretty familiar with an online store, an online clothing store with a physical component. You can kind of map out steps of visiting the website or visiting the store in like a mall or some other storefront, and then kind of mapping out those steps. But when you're thinking more of a account-based B2B type business, that might be completely different. If you are, for example, a company that promotes accounting software, usually marketers might not have an accounting background. And that might be something where you would really need to understand the sort of educative steps that are really important for a CFO or a bookkeeper for a small business. Understanding what kind of steps and questions a potential customer might go through is pretty important in terms of just laying out the groundwork and really helping you to essentially create an actual map of your customer journey. And that essentially sets the path for you as a marketer to say, at which points or milestones of the customer journey do I want to, whether that's deliver content, if it's sort of a more educational piece, or is it a point to engage? So engagement can be something as simple as, if you are a sports team and you're thinking of, I'd really like to sell season ticket memberships, an easy step would be someone who has attended their first game. That can be a very key milestone that you want to integrate as a really important step in your acquisition strategy. But again, if it's a more of a account-based product, more B2B, that might be even the engagement might be like a phone call with someone who's just signed up for a white paper on, how can I automate my payroll practices? And so that can be obviously much more of a kind of in-depth conversation, a much more kind of high-touch sales process. The definitely customer journey, I think, is the most important. And then pretty related is thinking about your core customers. A lot of different terms used to understand this. You might hear like a buyer persona. So a business might have 3, 4, maybe just one buyer personas in terms of kind of, I guess, make up the traits of their kind of ideal buyers who experience the pain points that your product or service is trying to alleviate or improve. So understanding those buyer personas is really important to be able to understand where they live, essentially. Where do they get their information? If you're an accountant and one of your pain points is payroll every 2 weeks, whether it's industries, what are the trade groups, the areas where that they are frequenting as part of their profession. Those are obviously very important and hugely advantageous areas to engage and build awareness and hopefully also convert as part of your customer acquisition strategy. And part of that buyer persona is understanding the channels to target with them. So that can go into demographics as well. If you are a business or product, like let's say it's an entertainment company, and it could be, your Disney Plus, and you really are interested in promoting your kind of animated children's shows. So obviously most children don't have a credit card to purchase a Disney Plus subscription, but it's their parents that you want to be able to target. And so understanding that demographic in terms of where can we kind of more engage with households with, for example, young children, or in terms of their parents. Probably different channels that skew older. If it's like print media, that might not be particularly successful channel just because of the skew of the type of people who might engage with different types of media. So understanding those buyer personas, also called customer segments, can help you not just understand that customer journey, what questions they might have, but also start to develop essentially hypotheses of what might be really advantageous, really strategic channels where you're able to find value in terms of efficiently targeting potential customers without having to kind of spend a lot to reach a large audience. You can kind of be more targeted. Those are definitely the first two steps. And then I think the third one in terms of a successful acquisition strategy is being able to ideally kind of experiment with the content that you have. So being able to set up that experimentation framework with your content, it will help you really understand the questions that can come up with any acquisition campaign when you've launched it. Because as you kind of just illustrated, there's quite a lot of variables that determine the success of a campaign. And that's timing in terms of when you engage with that customer on the journey. It can also be the channel, if it's the appropriate channel to engage with them. If you collect email, but you kind of sending them numerous emails, it might just be too much. And then it's also the content. Is that relevant to that particular persona in terms of your buyer persona? So those are key areas that you'll want to isolate and be able to experiment with when you launch your first campaign, and then hopefully iterate on those. You're able to get a good understanding of what worked. And then, of course, any good marketer, any good acquisition strategy is iterative, and you're able to improve campaigns and then take those learnings and launch new campaigns to try and increase your reach